So there has been a certain shift in many of the big teams and the way they play. Most of those teams relied on individual quality, and the managers, the big name managers who are managing those teams have kept a way of a style of play where they would find the players to be close in proximity to each other, to not follow a system and to have complete freedom over the position, over how deep they want to drop, over how much involved they want to be in the play. And most of them, when they are asked to perform certain duties, those players shied off because they just felt that that reduces their freedom. So those teams which were managed by big name managers who allowed for freedom had started to fall, and hence the teams which had those big name managers then started to replace them with new managers, with managers who have uh, attained success in smaller clubs, in clubs uh, which were not individual oriented clubs. They were more about team play, about team success, about how the individuality of the game was not the main thing that was the concern of the club. That club more cared about what trophies, what games they win. They didn't care about stats, they didn't care about gameplay, they didn't care about what was the style of play. What they care about was whether they were able to carve out results, were they able to grind out results that helped them win certain trophies, because that was the most important thing for those small clubs where these new managers had been working. So these changes are clearly showing that these managers have been trying to implement their new systems, and the very big part of it is playing with short passes, playing with build up from short passes from the back, and which require a certain level of synchronization. And most of the big teams fail to achieve that synchronization because most of the big teams, most of the big clubs that have big name players don't really uh, don't really tend to make their players play in a certain way. They let their players have their own intuitions. They let their players have their own problem solving into the game, which actually makes it more enjoyable. But now these new managers have started to implement their ideas more towards how to solve the game as a whole, as a team, as a unit. And what they focus is not the man and the ball, is what they actually uh, make the center point of it. So today, the most important solution that every manager is finding is how can they actually manage to bring their ideas of build up from the back to using short passes, using ways in which they can actually uh, manage to bring out same results that they did with those smaller teams without actually caring about what synchronization or what system the player have drilled through. So an easy s- solution to uh, build up from back can be to find third man runs. How does that work? Suppose my DM is the one who drops over in this space and receives a pass from the left back. Now this is the first pass. Now a very obvious second pass would be to pass him back. But does that create anything for you? No. It it then involves this marker to be in those spaces to jump on you, and then you will not be able to pass it back to him again. Instead, what you do is to involve your center back not to hold the ball because he is already being marked. He is there to bounce past it and become the third man to then pass it back to the left back, because when he passed it to the DM, the marker jumped on him. He then passed it but did not keep the ball, and then he then passed it completely to him again. This makes it work so that it happens in a split second. Now there is no way to defend this third man combination because this guy out of instinct is jumping, and there is a whole lot of space created over here, and this allows the player to have time to find those passing lanes and can then find uh, find chances where he can exploit. So the best way to build up from the back is to use third man combination and bounce passes, where every player is fine tuned to be aware that from where he's gonna get the second balls, from where he's gonna get the second passes. He is not supposed to be looking for the first passes at the first place. When he passes it to a teammate, when your goalkeeper asks your your center back to move into certain spaces, he takes the ball, takes a slight touch, but doesn't overdo it. He doesn't keep the ball for long with him. He then passes it straight back to the goalkeeper, which then he releases a ball into the space where a DM takes a touch on the ball and then gives it back to the center back. Then he again gives it back, and then he asks his center back again, and then he again bounce passes it, making it another third man combination where you actually try to pass the ball like this in triangles and then bring certain players eventually closer, which drag the opponents down into your defensive half. And once you have uh, created ample amount of space for one of your players, you can actually exploit the whole of uh, this space. The space is is completely left to be exploited. Now this player can pass the ball over here. Anybody can come and combine in this space, and then you you create a proper goal scoring chance from here. This feels immediately as a counter attack because you don't take time to take that pressure. You don't take that pressure from the opponent. The opponent has no time to press you. This is the ultimate form of press resistance without even without even actually being pressed, because whenever a player presses you, you pass the ball back, and when you pass the ball back, it is not the intended player you are trying to pass the ball. It is the first player who is the link between the actual intended player who might be in a different passing lane, who you cannot see directly, who is in a space which the goalkeeper will be able to see, and he has already positioned him so that he can pass it to that same guy who can exploit that space in which he's going to receive the ball, in which he anticipates to receive the ball and become the third man and move into that space. This is how you can actually work out with short passing from the back. Now what if the the opponent plays with a high line? Now if the opponent tries to trap you in an offside position, what do? Now there is a very clever tactic to break the high line of, like, you can break any traps with this one tactic. You position one of your strikers into a clear offside position. Now how does this help? When a when an opposition is trying to defend you with a high line and they are trying to close down these spaces that are being created, created, and if your players are occupying positions beyond that, they are clearly offside. They cannot be involved in play. But what you can do is ask your players to to gather up more centrally, so these players get involved in more central zones. Then what you can ask your goalkeeper is to take the ball into the wide spaces. These players will try to then close down. But like you can see over here, what happens is that the ball makes your center forward uh, your center forward is now on side because of the ball is ahead of him. Now he can be involved in play, and now you can pass it to him. uh, now you can pass the ball to him, and then he can actually drive with the ball up, and he can be one on one with the goalkeeper. This creates a very high quality chance. So when you start an attack in your own half and you're good with the ball, having the ball at your feet, you are supposed to build up in such a way. If your team is not good with the ball, if your team is good with applying pressure, if your team is good as a unit, is good as players who can function in proximity to each other, in proximity to each other, in terms of pressing, in terms of regaining the ball back, and then and then they are trying to go vertical. You shouldn't be using this. If your players are based on true style of possession play, then only you can implement this, because this requires really high awareness from the players, really high intelligence to find those third man runs, really high intelligence to make those third man runs, and a goalkeeper should have good ball playing ability. So this is how you can actually play with short passes from the back. There are certain ways in which you can create counter attacks even more quicker, but they are more riskier. They can cause turnovers, and even this can cause turnovers, but it has a certain uh, reward that is even higher. This creates this creates some of the best chances that you can imagine on a football pitch. Now the risk can be limited if you are compact, if you apply pressure immediately after losing the ball, and you win the ball back as quickly as possible. Then you can then you can create another counter attack. So if you lose the ball, you create another attack immediately. So that is the better side of this in terms of defense. And also, uh, when you position your players in proximity to each other in the defense, you're more likely to be sitting in a low block when defending. Yes, you can carry the ball up, yes you can have touches, yes you can then go on to exploit the 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 opposition's box, and then you can also be dominant in the opposition's half with possession, with your field tilt completely focused in your opposition's half. You can still do that, but when you are trying to build up from the back, you should appear like a low block team, because it has to do with preventing turnovers, or preventing turnovers into converting themselves into high quality chances against you. So this is how you approach with a builder from the back with short passes system. Thank you.